Okay, the scam baiting videos I've made for this channel have been pretty popular and people keep asking me for more, which leads to an interesting supply problem. Because although I do receive a phenomenal number of scam emails and I try to play every one of them, only a very small proportion turn out to go anywhere at all, and even fewer of them wrap up in a way that makes for a complete and entertaining video. So while we're all waiting for the next big one to finish, let's take a look at some of the flops and failures. This is part 2 of the scammers who dumped me. So here's the scam that starts with the words "thanks for your response," and as far as I can tell I haven't responded to anything leading up to this, but no matter. Sandra Mitchell of the Green Berets wants to tell me something about Operation Inherent Resolve. Please don't be sceptical. I mean, after all, it must be completely normal for the Special Forces to randomly blurt stuff out via email to civilians. Sure. Sandra Mitchell was lucky enough to be in Syria fighting terrorists. In Syria she captured a town. In the town was a building. In the building was a basement. In the basement was a false wall. Behind the false wall was a small room. In the small room was a safe and... never mind, the safe, there was a cabinet. And in the cabinet... No, in the drawers of the safe... No, behind the safe were some bags of gold bars worth $27 million. Anyway, the obvious thing to do next was email a random stranger, me, to ask me to receive them as cargo. Like I said, obvious. So I replied, "I don't understand. Why don't you send the bars to someone you already know? Also, this sounds a bit risky. What if the terrorists want their gold back?" Sandra explained, "There's nothing whatsoever to worry about. Be rest assured. Sandra just wants to make new friends, build relationships and break new grounds. It's just a secret that nobody must ever know about. And despite there being nothing to worry about, it will not be safe for us if this goes through the banks. If my assistance is required financially, and let's face it, that's the one thing we can rely on here, Sandra will notify me. But not to worry, because she is of the opinion that she will not make such a request." Great. Her husband would normally have done this all for her, but he's unfortunately not available since he died 18 years ago. So now it's all down to me, random internet stranger, to help. I can keep 40% of the gold and donate 10% to charity. Seems pretty straightforward, although I found the explanation a bit long-winded, so I said, "I'm having trouble understanding what you require me to do. I'm afraid your last email below simply contained far too many words. I have trouble reading long documents due to a defect in my memory. When I read or write something more than a few dozen words, I find that I cannot remember the beginning. And so I am having trouble understanding what you require me to do, as I am afraid your email contained far too many words. I have trouble reading or writing long documents due to a memory defect. When I read or write something that's more than a few dozen words, I find that I cannot remember the beginning, and so I'm having trouble understanding what you require me to do, as I am afraid your email contained far too many words. I have trouble reading or writing long documents due to a memory defect. Please, would you be kind enough to explain the plan in less than, say, 50 words? Sandra replied with 212 words, which was disappointing. She said, "Thanks for your response, kind words, and desire to do this with me. I contacted you because I'm in need of someone I can entrust with these boxes till I finish my tour of duty. As a soldier, trust in other human beings is the only thing that keeps me safe. Every relationship starts without planning, but by a little contact or a smile, it might lead to a long-lasting friendship. I'm not asking you for any financial help, but your partnership, and I trust that you can help me achieve the quest I'm soliciting your help to actualise." Now it turns out it was my fault that nearly allowed this scam to die on the vine. I realised that I never replied between February and September at all. So to remedy that, and remembering that Sandra had specifically said if we're lucky and fast enough we can conclude this within the next few days, I replied 7 months late to say, "I just realised I'd completely forgotten to reply to you. Do you still have the boxes of gold? Also, what do you want me to do next?" And to my surprise, Sandra was still waiting for me. The story was still much the same, except that her husband, who apparently died 18 years ago in 9/11, had changed his name from Paul to Peter. Let me just say I find there to be something especially evil about this scammer, exploiting the events of 9/11 just to create a backstory for an advance fee scam. So I decided to probe this a little, and so I said, "I was so deeply saddened about the part you wrote about your husband. I was moved so much that I visited a memorial to the victims in hope I could perhaps spend a few moments in silence honouring the memory of Peter Mitchell. I couldn't find his name on the memorial. Are you aware of this? There was a Paul Mitchell, but no Peter Mitchell to be found. What happened? I hope it's not too painful for you to explain. It's certainly not my intention to pry or to make light of these tragic events. Nobody should ever do that. Please tell me more about Peter, his life, and why he's not been honoured in the memorial." And I guess that was probably enough to tip the scammer off that I wasn't serious, as I never heard from Sandra again. The next one was interesting. It began with an email just saying, "I have a message for you." I replied, "Sounds mysterious. Please tell me more." And here's where it got a little bit weird, because it was a template email in which the scammer had forgotten to change the email address of his previous mark. I contacted the potential victim to warn him that this was a scam. Then I replied to the scammer, "I think there's been some kind of mix-up. I'm not Paul from Financial, so I guess he's the winner, not me. I thought this must be too good to be true. Oh well, maybe my luck will turn soon. Neither Paul nor the scammer ever replied. Next, Paul Gilstrap has my consignment box worth $20.5 million. He jumped straight to the request for $100 advance fee to get it delivered. No subtlety at all. I replied, I think this must be a mistake. I'm not expecting any such consignment. Who is it addressed to? And I guess the box must have been addressed to someone else, as I never got any reply. Next, I have a secure deal for you to handle. Get back for more details. I said, OK. Silence. The next one's particularly interesting because it's a meta scam. It's a scam that's specifically designed to scam people who've already fallen victim to a previous scam. Claiming to be from the Zenith Bank in affiliation with the United Nations, following an investigation by the FBI, and promising me $4.5 million as compensation for whatever scam or fraud I'd presumably suffered. I replied, sorry, I don't know what this is about. I think you may have inadvertently contacted the wrong person, by mistake, accidentally, in error, unintentionally. The Reverend Eric Albert. That's right, Zenith Bank, the United Nations and the FBI couldn't handle this on their own, so they obviously brought in a minister to sort things out. Anyway, Reverend Eric said, I receive your email, and I understand all that you said, but I want you to know that this email is for you, not a wrong contact, so you must have to proceed towards receiving this fund, okay? I await your swift response. I said, sorry, are you saying that it's mandatory that I proceed with this? What will happen to me if I don't? Will I be in some sort of trouble? Reverend Eric said, yes. I replied, crikey, what? I'm sure this isn't anything to do with me. What should I do? Reverend Eric gave me a form to fill out, to reconfirm the followings. I said, wait, no, I don't want to. What did you mean earlier about it being mandatory to continue? What will happen to me now? Well, the answer to that is nothing. The Reverend Eric was gone, and although I tried a couple of things, like saying I still don't understand what this is about, I think you have the wrong person, nothing seemed to bring him back. Next, the Illuminati invited me to join them, and although I replied in enthusiastic caps, OK, I never heard back from them. We'll look at some other scammers who dumped me in a moment, but first an answer to one of your frequently asked questions. Today's question is this for real, or are you just making these stories up? Well, it's all real. Ultimately, you're going to have to take my word for that, because even if I gave you direct access to my mailbox, which I'm not about to do, it could still be argued that I manufactured these conversations by sending myself the scam emails from somewhere else. These are real conversations with scammers. I can't ever prove that, but let me say this. If I was scripting both sides of these conversations for the purpose of comedy, they'd be better than this. I know about comedy writing techniques such as pullback and reveal or callback, and if I was in control of both sides of the conversation, simply put, these videos could and therefore probably would be funnier than they are. I do sometimes make small editorial changes. I will occasionally omit pieces of the conversation if I think they'll just bore you, and I sometimes correct my own typos because, well, everyone prefers to look smart. So in summary, everything you see here is pretty real. I've no motivation to deceive any of you, and I think if you know anything about me from watching my other content, you probably don't need to be persuaded of that anyway. So anyway, let's get back to the scammers who dumped me. Scott M. Erickson wrote to say that a complete stranger wants me to help dispose of $7 million to charity. So I said, OK. Scott wrote back, explaining only a little more. Oddly, the gender of the deceased had changed from male to female in this short time, but I figured, it's Amsterdam. You can probably get gender reassignment there, even after you're dead. Scott wants my details. You know, the sort of details you should never share with a stranger on the internet. But he wrote it in the third person, asking for his partner's first name, etc. So I replied, I don't have a partner at the moment. I'm not sure how I can help. Scott replied, I'm not sure what you mean. By partnership, I mean business partnership. If you have any other questions, please let me know. If you wish to begin, let me know. AKA, please fill the form. I said, that's what I mean. I can't fill the form as it asks for my partner's name, etc. I don't have a partner. I'm completely alone. Scott said, by partner, I am referring to you. You must fill your own information. I felt like there might have been an opportunity here to teach an ESL scammer some wrong English, so I replied, I believe I understand what you're trying to say now. Is English perhaps not your first language? In written English, we would not normally use the term partner when making an anticipatory request for information. It would be far more common and correct to use the term peri participatron. Scott just said, please fill the form. I said, to which form do you refer? There does not seem to have been any attachment on any of your previous email messages. Perhaps you'd be kind enough to resend the form by return. No response, so I chased with, I await your swift reply. Still nothing, so I tried one more time. Please would you be kind enough to send the correctly worded form, whereupon by, I shall return it to you with my details infilled. But Scott had left the conversation. Finally, I got this email from someone who claims to be called Susan Williams, who must confess that I'm a nice, gentle-looking man on my profile. Can we be friends? Sure, why not? I'm guessing this scam, whatever it is, works better on people who have a profile on one or more dating platforms. I just replied, where did you see my picture? No direct answer to that, which we will find to be a common theme as we go along. So Susan's in the US military in Afghanistan, is 36 and single, and here are some pictures. By the way, I did a reverse image search on these pictures and got multiple hits. They're all over the web, but because I don't know the identity of the real person in this picture, I will black bar them. I just replied, "Hi Susan, you're pretty. Where did you find my profile?" Susan replied with what was probably mostly a pre-written template, but coming on pretty strong and implying hope of future romance. Susan says, "I believe honesty is the most important virtue a person can have." Oh, Susan, if only that were true. Now, I should say at this point I made sure that my wife knew I was baiting this scammer, as well as to make it clear that the person writing is almost certainly not a bubbly romantic girl soldier in Afghanistan, but more likely a fat sweaty man somewhere else. With the full consent of Mrs. Shrimp, I played along. My intention was to play this as far as possible, then later say I'm a 13-year-old boy. I mention this now because my replies are going to be riddled with spelling and grammar errors on purpose. I replied, "Hi Susan, I'm happy you replied to my last email. My name is Mortimer Tobar, but you can call me Morty. Sounds like you're a very interesting person and your life sounds amazing. I loved your photos. My favourite food is hot dogs. What food do you like? Please reply soon." Susan didn't respond, and I wanted to seem interested, so I wrote again, "I was hoping you might have sent me an email today. I keep checking my inbox and hoping you will send another great pic. I printed the others out and stuck them on the wall near my computer. Are you okay? Is it dangerous where you are? Please write back soon. I can't wait to hear from you." Susan replied, attaching some more photos, and saying she wanted to share her whole love with me. She had answered my question about favourite foods, and the answer is seafood, various vegetables, beans and potatoes too. I was especially happy that she said, "I hate dishonesty, lies, deceit, hypocrisy and laziness. I never accommodate these things. I prefer to be confronted with the truth rather than being patronised with lies, because I think that's really important." I wrote, "Thank you for writing back. I am amazed at everything you said. I think you're a really great person. Thank you also for the new photos. Please send more as soon as you can. My favourite pic is the one where you're sitting on a big bomb. There's just something about that pic that's so incredible. I can't stop staring at it for hours and hours. I'm just so happy that you want us to be friends. Is it okay if I tell people about that, because I feel like I want to shout it to everyone? Please write back. I think you're cool and amazing." Susan replied with a sad story about how her parents had died. Then she was in the military to escape persecution from her relatives, who didn't like the fact that her mother was a Muslim and her father was a Christian, which is the same thing as American. I wrote back with a load of adoring drivel, and asking about her free time and whether she likes animals, and saying I want to tell my friends I have a girlfriend. Then I thought it might be fun to set the scammer an impossible challenge, asking her to send a photo holding up a piece of paper with "I Heart Morty" on it. The scammer's using stolen photos and isn't really this female soldier, so the request can't be done. The scammer didn't reply for a few days. I wanted to seem eager, so I just sent a series of short emails saying I missed her, I was worried for her safety, what's going on, are you okay? Susan finally wrote back, a long email beginning to profess her undying love and loyalty for Morty, asking me a few generic personal questions, then, as a true display that nothing can stop our relationship, answering the same questions herself. She doesn't smoke, she occasionally drinks red wine, mostly champagne. I guess that must be very occasional then. She likes the bright colours, white, not a colour, blue, green, orange, yellow. She's this tall and this heavy. She likes sports and wants to know about my hobbies, what I like and dislike, my turn on, and do I like the beach and cinema. Okay, so we got some work to do. I firstly expressed my great relief that nothing bad had happened to her. I said, "I don't drink or smoke at all. I'm 5 foot tall, normal weight and size. I sometimes play ball games like basketball and soccer, but my friend kicked the ball right in my face last time I played, so I don't know if I want to play again. I have never been to a beach. What is it like? I heard the ocean is really big and amazing. I like movies, mostly MCU stuff. Is it okay if I tell my friends about you? Can you send some more pics?" Susan replied to express her love for Morty, and to make an excuse about why she can't take more pictures. I replied to say I was excited we might meet soon. Susan wrote back, now saying her heart belongs to me, how happy and blessed she felt about us, etc., etc., saying something about my lovely picture. I hadn't sent any pictures, so I guess that's just the wrong bit of adoring prose the scammer pasted in right there. I replied to say, "Hi Susan, thank you for writing again. I am so excited every time I get an email from you. It's so amazing that you care about me. I can't wait until we meet, and I look at your picture all the time. When are you coming here? When can we meet? When?" No reply for a day or so, so I tried asking a fun little question. I said, "I have so many things I want to ask you and talk about, like when you get on an airplane to go and drop bombs, do you still have to get a ticket like on a regular airplane? That's just an example. I have so many questions. I bet you have cool answers." I don't think the scammer was actually paying much attention to the content of my emails, as that important question was never answered. Instead, Susan began to tell me that she had to go on a mission, but after that she was going to get an exit pass and come to be with me. Now, at this point, we still don't know for sure what the scam is, but given that the scammer is now labouring the point about trust, I'm guessing it will be Susan needs me to pay for her airline ticket to come and see me, and if I was the actual scam victim profile here, that is a lonely guy who can't believe his luck. How would I be able to refuse? I wrote back just rambling on about how she could tell me anything she wanted to say and asking again for the photo with a paper saying I heart Morty. I was sort of hoping the scammer might lash together some awful composite in MS Paint. There was no reply for several days, so I wrote again just to keep seeming eager. Then a weird thing happened. The scammer screwed up and sent me the original teaser email all over again. The reply address was only 1 digit different from the original. So I guess this is the scammer getting ready to discard one mailbox and move to another, sending out a new batch of initial emails, including one to me, presumably by mistake. I replied to say, I am confused. Why did you send me this? You already know me. Why do you have a new email address? Why did you take so long to write to me again? Are we still friends? And that, sadly, was the end of Susan's replies to me. I wrote quite a long series of emails over the next few days and weeks, so as to seem to still be interested, but nothing seemed to get any response. I don't really know why this one ended. Maybe the scammer twigged that Morty sounded a lot like a kid. Who knows? And so that's the end of episode 2 of The Scammers Who Dumped Me. I hope that was interesting. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.